Hello, I think we're live again. Just bear with me, I'll make sure we are live. Yes, it's me again. This is like the third time this week, but I'm just in the middle of doing something that's quite exciting, and again I just wanted to share this with you. Again, if you've not tuned in before, I'm Matt Hodson, and I'm working on my new EP at the moment, and I'm just kind of using points as I'm making my music to share these things with you, to come up with some new ideas, and hopefully you have a bit of a two-way conversation. Maybe you can give me some input as well, so leave any comments you might have as we go along, and also just to share the sort of things that I'm thinking about doing as well. At the moment, I've been working a lot on bass sounds and things like that. In the last video, check it out from yesterday, I was starting to use the effects box, Synthbox by 1010 Music to start making some chords and polyphony. And today I thought I would start having a jam with getting some effects involved and things like that. And yeah, it's been a bit of a conundrum because part of me, I've been approaching this with the vibe of I want to play this live, and I don't think I should be doing that right this second. What I should be thinking about is making a studio-based album that I will be able to play live, of course, but there's a lot of different things you've got to consider when you're making an album, making an EP, and that is, you know, getting good studio quality production. I've got a lot of outboard here. I've got a mixing desk. I've got effects. I've got synths. I've got MIDI controllers. I've got outboard compressors. And really, I should be taking full advantage of all these things and using them in really creative ways, in ways that I haven't done for a long time, maybe, because I've been very much focused on just performing with a Eurorack case or two. So yeah, today's been really exciting in that I've just been playing around, getting all of these things involved. I've got quite complex patching almost going on. This spaghetti is totally unnecessary. It looks worse than it is. I'll just switch over to a different camera so you can see. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess and it's a bit of a tangle at the minute. But I was going to move some of the modules around so things were a little bit more neater. And there wasn't perhaps so much going on in terms of you know, extra long cables where it's not needed, but I haven't done that yet. Instead, I decided to start plugging in effects. So the effects that I've got, let's have a look here. I've got the El Capistan by Cwejman. I'll just turn that around. You might be able to see this. This is complete tangle over here at the moment. But yeah, I've got the El Capistan, really like that in terms of delay. I've got an Eventide, Space, I've got a Line 6 Echo Park, I've got another Big Sky there by Cwejman, which I'm not using at the moment. Underneath the chord bot, I've been playing around with the chord bot today, trying to come up with some musical ideas. I've got another Eventide there, which is the pitch factor, which is really cool for sending monophonic signals into and generating chords and things like that from it. I don't know if you've used the pitch factor before, but it's a lot of fun. I think I'm certainly going to be using it more and more. So that's all my effects over there, and the way that I've got these things integrated is in a number of ways, actually. I think I'll just start making some sounds and you can hear what I'm doing here. So for example, let's switch over to this camera. I've been playing around with the bass even more. It sounds like I'm spending a long time on bass, but that's because bass is so important to what I'm doing. And what I've been playing around today with was the Even VCO from Bitbox, which is cool. Maybe we'll see it better on a different camera view here. The Even VCO. And I was jamming around with this, and I really like the sound of it running through the Cwejman El Capistan, but not the other bass from the Cwejman. So I literally unplugged the even VCO and plugged it directly into the Cwejman, and then brought it back into its own channels on here. So I'm only using the Cwejman on this even VCO by Bafako for bass. Let's have a look. Where are we? Let's just kill all the bass at the moment. Lots of bass going on. So the sound of... There we go. I've got reverb there, of course. I'll take the reverb off. So what you're hearing now is just the even VCO going through the Cwejman El Capistan, and I really love the Capistan. It's a bit wonky. It's a bit you know, it's kind of a tape echo emulation after all, and yeah, I just love its wonkiness and what have you. So I'm feeding that into it. And I just love the way it reacts. It's an exciting sound. Got that kind of very quick delay going on. I'm just controlling the envelope that's opening and closing the filter it's running through from the Quadra. So if I close the filter, actually I was using it more like this. I was using it more as a very subby sort of sound. A bit like that. Which is really nice. You probably want to be listening on headphones for this session, by the way. And there's hardly any top in there, so when you go up an octave or so, you don't hear it. So if I open up the filter at the same time, big fan of opening and closing filters, of octave switching. One of the reasons I got the even VCO was because it's got a big octave dial on the front there. So if I combine that with the Cwejman, got that going on, and the Torpedo. Again, go back to my previous videos and you can see me putting that together with the effects of Torpedo and what have you. That's that at the moment, which I really like. It's nice. There's a nice energy there. It's yeah, it's working for me. It's setting off inspiration. I like the movement from the wonky delays. I like all the big reverb. It's just the kind of stuff that I really like. So with that in mind, I think one of my cameras is glitching out a bit there. Sorry about that. With that in mind, I'm just thinking about routing the sound coming back from the Biffaco. So if I just play that again, let me just solo that. Mute the kick. Let's go to this camera. This should be alright. So what I'm thinking is just get rid of reverb. It's juicy, isn't it? So what I'm thinking is, at the minute, I'm just taking one waveform out of there and I'm putting it into the Strymon for that delay on that oscillator. But this oscillator's got multiple outputs, so I'm just thinking, ooh, shall I use some more? I've got some little mixers that I could use, which are pretty cool. So maybe I'll use those to combine some of these oscillators together and then run it into the filter. So what I'm thinking is, okay, yeah, let's take this output. That's going to the El Capistan, and let's go from the little mixer over here that I've got. Hopefully you can see that little mixer. I think you can. This is the little mixer here, the Mix B. Can't remember who these are, but oh, Ethan Var, I think. Yeah, I'm quite keen on this little row of 1U here. It's really useful for 1U tiles and just utilities and things without taking up other room in your rack. So what I'll probably do is, what shall I do? So I'm going to take the low pass filter coming out. There we go. So that's the Biffaco now, still going into the El Capistan as before. It's quite a bit quieter, just going through that. Because before I was actually going through this one tile over here called the Atoff, which allows me to not only create a CV offset, but also gain things a little bit. Oh, I know it's quiet. I've got the filter shut. Let's try that again. So let's go via this Mix B now. Sounds okay. What I like to do is, if I'm routing audio signals suddenly from one thing to another, I just want to make sure that by doing so I'm not losing bass or things aren't sounding softer in any way. Sometimes they can. You can run things through a particular VCA or a filter or a utility. It can just be like an AND or a mult or something like that, and suddenly the sound's got really soft. And so I'm aware of that. So let's just have a listen. So this is the Mix B. still got bite. Let's now listen to it coming out the Atoff. Oh, that's quite a different sound, you see. There's certainly not as much low end. There's a very harsh transient, which is nice, but not much low end or sustain. Let's listen to that again in the mix. The mix B. Wow, there's suddenly a lot more low end. It's a softer transient. So the question is, do I prefer that sound? Or do I prefer this sound? Through the Atoff. If I open the envelope a bit, make it longer. Let's hear that sound. Now I've opened the envelope, see if it's similar. No. Actually lost quite a bit of its top end. So I'm not going to do that. That's a shame. Because what I was thinking of doing was actually taking 3 different waveforms out of the even VCO into that mix B and then running that into the Capistan. But I'm not going to do that because it's affecting the sound so much. Unless there's another way around this. I could combine things before it goes into the filter, but I don't think that's going to make too much difference. Sorry, messages going off. This is what happens when you're live streaming. Yeah, I'm going to have to leave things like that. I'm just going to have to run with it rather than... Oh, that's a shame, because I was going to make the sound even beefier. But there we go. So I'm just stuck with... It's a good sound though. Sidechain compression going on there even without the kick. That's a load of bass with a load of delay and reverb. And I don't know about you, but for a long time when I first started out doing music production and making tracks and what have you, I'd never think of putting reverb on bass, or delays for that matter, until I started listening to Pink Floyd. And now in this world I get really excited by bass movement, stereo bass, distorted bass, bass with delays and reverb. And yeah, you know, actually saying this to you now is yeah, it's actually just hit me that actually this is a big part of my sound and what I'm after. It's really exciting. Also, just before I go, I thought one of the things that I'd look at with you lot is rings, but I tend to use rings in a different way. I use rings in its Easter egg mode, and in Easter egg mode, I don't know if you know, basically you can put it into this mode by changing the dials into a particular arrangement. And the Easter egg mode, what that gives you is like a chord string machine, and that's how I have it set all the time pretty much. So I'm just going to mute the bass. Don't need it. Get rid of that. That's the Torpedo you're just hearing on its own. See, the Torpedo is even a cool sound on its own, and it's got filters on it. Really like it. It's cool. Like I say, I think mine's broken. So yes, going back to the rings. Sorry. So the rings here, I'm sending it some CV pitch from Ableton currently, and it's in its string mode, and I've got that running through the MMM VCF by Happy Nerding, and I really like this actual filter because it distorts on the input. I didn't realize this until I contacted the Happy Nerding who made it, and they said, yeah, it actually has this slight distortion character of the Mini Moog. So that's what they're putting there. To get rid of it, if you're interested and you've got this filter and you haven't noticed, just turn up the resonance dial just a little bit, and that will solve it. Might be able to see it better on this camera actually if I go to that one. Yeah, that'll take away the distortion. I like the distortion when paired with the rings. So I'm going to plug this in to a couple of channels on my mixer hither, like that. Just kill the reverb. I love that sound. It's so good. That's basically the string machine being running through this filter, creates these harmonics, and it just sounds great. And as I mentioned, if you just turn up the resonance just a little bit, you'll hear that the distortion goes a little. So I'll open up the filter, turn that up resonance, and there we go. It just takes away that bottom end and the sort of distortion, and that works best for me. And obviously with some reverb, it's just gorgeous. And then what I did, I set a clock to make noise for an 8, and that is just playing a sequence, and I've put that into the shape of rings. We get this going on. Just take the reverb off again. So what it's doing there, Renee is changing the shape, essentially, the voicing of the chord that it's playing. So instead of it being a major or a minor or whatever, it's shifting it to sevenths or ninths or back just to root or whatever like that. And yeah, I just think this is really interesting movement in the sound. Really like it. I've done this sort of thing a lot with this particular with the rings in this mode. Just think it works really cool. Yeah, let's have a listen. I'll put some more reverb back on. Just sounds great. There's a brightness on the rings, so you can take the top end away, add it back. It can get really bright. actually got an envelope opening and closing the filter. Now the clock that's going into Renee, that's triggering the envelope and triggering the movement of the Renee, is coming from the tempi. And the tempi's got some modulation going on, and the modulation in the tempi basically means that it'll take whichever ones you've selected to be modulated, and it'll move them around a bit like the rotating clock divider, in that it'll just move around those clocks. So two different clocks are modulating, moving around, going into the clock of Renee, and then giving that slightly erratic movement, which I really like. Otherwise it'd just be one bum 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 bum, which is a bit boring. Cool. So with that, what I think I need is a master delay. Because I'm using my Capistan on just the bass, I need some delay on this kind of thing going on. So I'm going to plug in my other foot pedal, the Echo Part by Line 6, and I recommend that as a foot pedal for delays. It's got so many different modes in there that you can use. It does reversing, tapped stuff, it does kind of sidechain, it does ping pong, it's got tape, digital or analog emulation modes, and they all sound quite different to each other. So yeah, I'm going to plug that in. I'm not going to do that now because I'll have to do a bit of reconfiguration to go on. I just want to see actually how this sounds. I don't know if this is in tune with the bass, so let's have a listen to that a minute. Anyway, that should do it for now. Yeah, thanks for checking in again, and please do subscribe and like and share if you want any more of this kind of thing. I don't really know if you find this useful, so please leave a comment if you are. If not, I guess I'll just turn the cameras off in future and just concentrate on what I'm doing more. But thanks for joining me. Any questions? Leave them in the comments, whatever. You find me again on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of thing. Matthew Hodson Music on Facebook, Matthew Hodson on Instagram and on Twitter. and on YouTube as well. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave you with that. Thanks again for joining me. The next stage, I think I'm going to take this track that I'm working on here. Quite like what's going on in a way. And I'm now going to look at song structure and how to make it longer and more interesting and all these kind of things. And then I need to also figure out how I'm going to record all the separate parts so I can stem them out, so I've got a little bit of control once I've recorded stuff. I'm trying to go with the opinion and the ethos that once I've recorded stuff into the computer, I'm not really going to edit it, just maybe some slight tweaks on the mix in terms of subtractive EQ, compression if needed, extra percussion and that kind of thing. So it's important that I've got a little bit of control at least when it's in the computer. Plus I might need to supply stems to someone for remixing, and all those, you know, record label might want particular things delivered as well. So I've got to be mindful of all those things. I can't just work to a stereo 2 track that's going into the computer, but I will record that anyway. Okay, I'm rambling now. All the best. Thanks everyone for joining us, and yeah, have a great weekend. Bye.